Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The incoming co-leader of the Department of Government Efficiency, Vivek Ramaswamy, laid out the new agency's vision during an exclusive interview on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo yesterday, and I think you're going to like what you hear. President Trump is picking up support from an unlikely source. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania is urging Democrats to keep a level head and avoid overreacting to every move President-elect Donald Trump makes, including his cabinet picks and policy announcements. A Minnesota election judge is facing felony charges over accepting unregistered votes in the November 5th general election. We'll take a look at that. And veteran pollster J. Ann Selzer, known for her decades-long reputation for accurate election polling, and the lady who predicted that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa, announced her retirement after her final Iowa poll proved to be disastrously wrong.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
One of the most exciting things coming out of the new Trump administration is the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE. The incoming co-leader, Vivek Ramaswamy, laid out the new agency's vision during an exclusive interview yesterday. He was on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. Ramaswamy explained that the aggressive cost-cutting strategy will begin with executive action and lay the groundwork for Congress to do its part at a later date.
I want to get your take on how this begins.
Sure.
What are you looking to cut right from the beginning?
So first is we want to go right in through executive action to do the failures of the executive branch that need to be addressed. Because the dirty little secret right now, Maria, is the people we elect to run the government, they're not the ones who actually run the government. It's the unelected bureaucrats in the administrative state. That was created through executive action. It's going to be fixed through executive action. Think about the Supreme Court's environment over the last several years. They've held that many of those regulations are unconstitutional at a large scale. Rescind those regulations, pull those regs back, and then that gives us the industrial logic to then downsize the size of that administrative state. And the beauty of all of this is that can be achieved just through executive action without Congress. Score some early wins, and then you look at those bigger portions of the federal budget that need to be addressed one by one. So I think that's one way to think about this is how can the President of the United States, who's been elected with a historic mandate, actually do the thing that the voters have voted for? They haven't voted for incremental change here this time, Maria. We have voted for sweeping change, and the voters actually deserve to get it. And we're focused on how to do that as early and as quickly as possible.
And he's right, isn't he? We didn't vote for incremental change or go into this and study it. We voted for change. And when he says that we voted for sweeping change as early and as quickly as possible, that's exactly what we want. We want action. Earlier this month, of course, Trump chose Ramaswamy and business tycoon billionaire Elon Musk to lead this new agency called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. It's going to take a little while to get used to saying DOGE. D-O-G-E is how they're spelling this. It's aimed at suggesting ways to literally dismantle government bureaucracy and restructure federal agencies from an outside the government perspective, which is what our federal government has needed for a long, long time now. Too often, previous administrations have allowed the fox to guard the henhouse, have allowed federal bureaucrats to study how to better perform their duties, and they're never going to eliminate themselves, right? So with DOGE, and it's not an official government agency. It's not like a cabinet-level position. Neither Musk nor Ramaswamy will be considered official cabinet members, nor will they be federal employees. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to be paid or if they're just volunteering. That hasn't been disclosed that I'm aware of. Their work is expected to be limited from the standpoint that President Trump has asked them to wrap this up by July the 4th of 2026, the 250th anniversary of the Declarations of Independence signing. According to Ramaswamy, the sweeping changes expected to come from the initial executive actions will lay the groundwork for Congress to take, quote, meaningful steps in budget reductions going forward, saying that they are not going to be cutting ribbons, they're going to be cutting costs.
So President-elect Trump just said on that soundbite that you're going to make recommendations. So you're going to make recommendations in terms of where to cut after all that you've just said. Then what?
Look, we're not going to be cutting ribbons. We're going to be cutting costs. And so those recommendations are going to be on a real-time basis. But I do want to take a big step back and understand, for people to understand the scope of this problem. Over $500 billion that's spent every year right now was not even authorized by Congress in the first place. The Pentagon has just failed its 7th consecutive audit, nearly $1 trillion of budget. They can't even tell you where it goes. So I think part of this is exposing for the public the extent of that rot and waste, but then to take steps first through executive action and then laying the groundwork for broader change through legislation as well to rein in that deficit, to rein in that budget. And more crucially, Maria, I know we're talking about this in terms of efficiency, but there's something deeper going on here. This is about restoring self-governance and accountability in America as well. Elected leaders, if they make the wrong decisions, voters have a great choice. You can vote them out and remove them. Most of the people making these decisions, from healthcare to the Department of Defense, are failing on effectiveness because they have no accountability. Historically, it's been the view of many scholars to say that those people could not even be fired. Now we take a different view with the environment the Supreme Court has given us in recent years, and we're going to use that in a pretty extensive way, Maria, to move quickly.
Again, this is some of the most exciting stuff that I've heard in a while. There was rumor that Ramaswamy might be the new senator from Ohio to take J.D. Vance's place when he resigns to become vice president. Ramaswamy has said that he is taking himself out of consideration in order to accept this appointment to work alongside Elon Musk. Ramaswamy and Musk both threw their support behind Trump during the election cycle, campaigning for the president in some of the key battleground states that largely determined the outcome. They also joined President-elect Trump, alongside a number of his other key allies and nominees at the UFC 309 fight over the weekend at New York City's Madison Square Garden. They've sort of become a rat pack, if you will, because they've shown up at some of these very spotlighted events. Trump made his triumphant return weeks after his hugely successful rally prior to the election at Madison Square Garden. The crowd welcomed Trump and his entourage with what is being called a raucous ovation Saturday night as he walked to his seat alongside UFC President Dana White. The crowd started chanting USA, USA as Kid Rock's American Badass played over the stadium speaker. Broadcaster Joe Rogan, of course, was there calling the fight. He said, quote, "If people at home could hear the sound in this room right now, it is so loud. It's always loud," he said, when he comes in. But now that he's won, now that he's the president again, oh my God, he said. Trump, of course, a New York native, lived in New York City for a long, long time, appeared to really enjoy it. I mean, he just thrives on this type of thing. He pumped his fist and danced to music before USC officials aired a video package which actually honored him. The presentation, which described the president's return to the White House as the great comeback in American history. And again, the audience went crazy again. Other than Musk and Ramaswamy, several projected members of the new Trump cabinet also joined him. As mentioned, along with Kid Rock, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was with him, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard was with the group as well. Now, Democrats are panicking over some of Trump's picks for cabinet. You know this. But a source of encouragement, I guess you could say, came from Senator John Fetterman over the weekend. He's urging Democrats to keep a level head and avoid overreacting to every move President-elect Donald Trump makes. And it's like Trump is trolling them. And everything he says and does, they panic. It triggers them. Fetterman said not to overreact, including his controversial cabinet picks, he said, and his policy announcement. He was on CNN State of the Union with Jake Tapper. Fetterman emphasized the importance of strategic focus rather than getting caught up in the daily news cycle driven by Trump's statements and his appointments. Maybe I've been underrating Fetterman. Maybe he's smarter than I thought he was. Fetterman cautioned that the Democrats should not panic over every tweet or every appointment from Trump, reminding his party that the presidential transition has only just begun. He said, it's still not even Thanksgiving yet. If we're having meltdowns over every tweet or every appointment, it's going to be a long 4 years. Well, Senator, it probably is going to be a long 4 years for the Democrats. He expressed concern about what he termed as the jackpot scenario for Trump and the GOP, with Republicans now holding power not only in the White House, but both chambers of Congress. Again, when did you think that common sense would be coming from John Fetterman? Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Email's always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD weight loss program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. As votes are still being counted in some areas around the country, as we're trying to wrap this up so that returns can be certified and we can move forward, an election judge from Hubbard County, Minnesota, his name is Timothy Michael Skelton, faces felony charges after allegedly allowing unregistered voters to cast ballots during the 2024 election. Now, who would think that something like this could happen in today's time? Skelton, who served as the head election judge for the Badura Township precinct, has been charged with one count of accepting the vote of an unregistered voter and one count of neglect of duty by an election official. The charges stem from an incident reported by a local election auditor who noticed that 11 voters had been allowed to cast ballots without completing the required registration forms used to verify their identity. Despite receiving comprehensive training for his role as head election judge in July of this year, Skelton reportedly bypassed standard procedures on Election Day. Now, there's no indication of what his party affiliation is. Another election judge who worked alongside Mr. Skelton claimed that he had instructed her not to use the official registration forms. Instead, he allegedly directed voters to sign the back of a book, a practice not in accordance with Minnesota election law. Another judge involved in the process indicated that she was unaware of the proper registration procedures and followed Skelton's instructions without questioning them. Now, the Hubbard County Sheriff's Office arrested Mr. Skelton, who declined to give a statement regarding the accusations. The Minnesota Secretary of State's office issued a statement acknowledging the gravity of the situation, emphasizing that the allegations are extremely serious, of course they are, and constitute a clear violation of election law. The Secretary of State highlighted the importance of integrity and adherence to legal protocols, noting that Minnesota's elections rely on the service of around 30,000 election workers who are expected to act impartially and lawfully. Why do you think somebody would do this? And again, we don't know party affiliation, and we don't know what this person was trying to accomplish. But don't you think with the heightened security and the focus that we have on election integrity, that this person would have known that it wasn't going to work? And why would you want to even attempt to allow someone who may not be qualified to vote to allow them to vote? The Secretary of State's office remarked, the deliberate failure to follow election laws is unlawful and a betrayal of public trust. They also commended the Hubbard County Auditor for promptly reporting the irregularities, allowing for a swift investigation by local authorities. The incident has sparked concern, of course, as it comes at a time of heightened scrutiny over election integrity nationwide. I mean, this is not a Minnesota problem. This is a problem all around the country. And as we're having issues in some states still trying to get the final election count, it just makes it suspect, doesn't it? Minnesota, like other states, has faced increased pressure to ensure transparent and secure elections. That's a pressure that all states have faced because that's what the American people want. We want to have trust. We want to be able to trust the outcome of an election. The charges against this man could further fuel debates over voter registration procedures and the adequacy of training for election officials. Now, they're not paid a lot of money. If any of you who have worked at the polls, you know you don't do it for the money. And this is why I love my buddy Curtis Smith, the chairman of the Spartanburg, South Carolina Republican Party. His whole belief is that he likes to recruit poll workers who he knows are conservatives and who are part of the Republican Party. He likes to have them working in the polls. Now, yes, the party can have their poll watchers, but Curtis likes to have people who are actually poll workers, who are there as part of the county's poll workers to make sure that everything is run properly. Back to Minnesota, the Secretary of State's office there reiterated its commitment to upholding election laws and ensuring that any breaches of protocol are fully investigated as the legal process unfolds. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not the only ones retiring after Trump's landslide victory on November the 5th. You remember the pollster who suggested that she did the poll for the Des Moines, Iowa Register, and it was just prior to the election. And every poll up until then had been pointing towards a Trump victory. But suddenly, Kamala Harris had a 7-point lead. Remember that? Well, J.Ann Selzer is her name. She's known for actually being a pretty good pollster over a period of time. She has announced her retirement after her final Iowa poll proved very inaccurate. It predicted this lead by Vice President Kamala Harris over Trump. Seltzer's career ended on a surprising note as her final poll results did not align with the actual outcome, according to the New York Post, where Trump decisively won Iowa by 14 points, actually, which was a significant margin over what she had predicted on November the 2nd, where she said that Harris had pulled ahead 47-44, which turned some heads. It made some people suspect. In an op-ed for the Des Moines Register, it was published November the 17th. Selzer addressed her decision to retire and reflected on her polling career. She acknowledged the inaccuracy of her final pre-election poll, noting, quote, "It's ironic that it ended this way, but I'm proud of the work I've done for clients like the Detroit Free Press, the Indianapolis Star, and Bloomberg News." Selzer explained that her contract had already been set to expire and that she had planned her departure before the election cycle concluded. I'm not sure I'm buying that, do you? I think she was humiliated and she decided to get out. I wonder if Kamala Harris had won as she predicted, if she might have decided to stay on for another cycle or two. Selzer expressed humility, stating that the field of polling has a way of periodically humbling the scientists, she said, and acknowledged that her long history of accurate predictions might have given her a false sense of comfort. Or maybe she just tried to throw it for Kamala Harris. She claims that that's not true. The inaccurate poll result, of course, drew a lot of backlash, particularly from conservative commentators and figures on social media. Journalist Piers Morgan criticized the polling on X, calling it a turkey of biblical proportions. Others, like Joe Simonson of the Washington Free Beacon, accused Selzer of damaging her credibility, with some questioning whether the poll had been manipulated. The poll had generated optimism among liberal media outlets before the election, having MSNBC's Rachel Maddow praise Seltzer's Iowa poll. They thought that they saw light at the end of the tunnel. Remember how excited they got? Well, turned out it didn't work, and she's retiring. I hate it for her. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. As President-elect Trump continues to build his cabinet and his next administration, and as his inauguration nears, the Post and Courier in Charleston, South Carolina, has identified 34 South Carolinians charged with crimes related to the January 6, 2021 Capitol protest who could be affected by the pardons that Trump has suggested he might do after becoming president. The Post and Courier writes their crimes range from flooding the halls of the Capitol building as police were pushed back by the crowds to attacking officers with their own equipment, according to detailed court records for each defendant cited by the Post and Courier. In multiple interviews, President Trump has said that he would consider pardoning every defendant related to the January 6, 2021 attack, while also saying that he would look at somebody who was evil and bad differently. Trump said during a CNN town hall in May of last year, he said, I'm inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control. Now, here's what we know, and according to this article in the Post and Courier, Thomas Castleman sprayed a line of officers with bear spray as others entered the Capitol building. Benjamin Robinson admitted to kicking in the door to then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. Christopher Rocky grabbed an officer's riot shield and punched the officer in the face. Of the 34 defendants from South Carolina charged, according to the Post and Courier database, which has been built based on federal court records, less than half of the total, 14 people, have been sentenced to jail time so far. Most already have finished their sentences and been released, but 2 people remain in prison, Castleman and Tyler Dykes, who stole an officer's riot shield and used it to push the crowd ahead into the building. One defendant, Christopher George Rocky, is expected to begin his year-and-a-half in prison soon after having been recently sentenced. 10 people were sentenced to probation but received no prison time, and another 10 defendants still have not been sentenced so far. It's just amazing to me that we're almost 4 years later, and there's still so many of these that they're still prosecuting, some still in jail, and some still haven't been sentenced. On the campaign trail, President Trump has referred to some of the J6ers as people prosecuted for their actions as hostages who should be freed, he said. Since being elected, his campaign and officials close to him have not addressed his comments yet, and they haven't disclosed what their plan's going to be, if anything. When asked about his reasoning behind pardoning the rioters, Trump has said that he'll look at individual cases, but generally has said those charged did not get fair trials in Washington. Trump said during the CNN town hall, and this printed in the Post and Courier, quote, "They're living in hell, and their policemen and their firemen and their soldiers and their carpenters and electricians and their great people. Many of them are just great people," he said. Now, it's not clear where Trump may draw the line between rioters charged with unlawfully being inside the Capitol building versus those charged or convicted of assaulting law enforcement or causing significant damage, which some of these have admitted that they were, that they did enter, that they did cause damage, and they've pled. Attorneys for Castleman and Dykes, two of the defendants from South Carolina, who are in prison, did not respond to comments, according to the Post and Courier. When asked if he wanted the court to delay his client's sentencing because of Trump's election to the presidency, Rocky's attorney, Brady Vinoy, said he was adamantly opposed to that idea. Vinoy said Rocky wished to accept full responsibility and be sentenced accordingly. Some rioters in other states, like Derek Evans from West Virginia, have said that they are expecting a pardon from Trump and that they'll wait. Typically, pardons are done on an individual basis, where the president reviews a person's case and decides whether to grant a pardon. Attorneys familiar with the process told the Post and Courier that the president, of course, has the ability to do a mass pardon. It's yet to be seen if he'll do it. What do you think? Should he consider this? Should the president consider just doing a mass pardon that would encompass all of those remaining who haven't been sentenced, or maybe even those who've been sentenced and but haven't completed their jail time, and even those who have already completed their jail time, or maybe they weren't sentenced to get jail time, but they still have this cloud hanging over them. Should Donald Trump pardon them and just wipe the slate clean? Love to get your comments. You can text me. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. It's just really interesting to me, the response that Democrats have had to the November 5th election. In some cases, you can tell that they're just not quite sure how to react. In others, they're defiant. And regardless of what you say and regardless of what the American people told them on November the 5th, they don't want to accept it. It was kind of funny that the truth was laid out to them by a comedian. Late-night comedian Bill Maher blasted Democrats on his Friday evening show. His show's Real Time with Bill Maher, saying that the problem in a nutshell for the Democrat Party is its out-of-touch woke ideology and how quick its politicians are to treat voters like they are stupid, he said. In his monologue, Maher went through a list of things that the Democrats have held on to, even though it was pretty evident that the American people had had enough. The American people, as we've said, spoke very loudly. And I'm just so thankful that it was so decisive, because I'm hopeful that at some point the Democrats will get over the shock, get over the anger. You know, it's kind of like the stages of grief that they're going through right now, and I think they're in the denial stage. But boy, Maher really spoke very clearly to them in his monologue as he basically said, folks, you got to wake up. If we're going to get over this, you need to accept responsibility for what you did. Here's Bill Maher on Friday night.
Okay, and finally, new rule. Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it. Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, AKA their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch. A bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
That's just a portion of it, and boy, the truth hurts, doesn't it? But he really hit the nail on the head, as we say, right? Maher called Democrats a bunch of privileged mean girls out of touch with the American people. He slammed the left's identity politics excuses for Harris's defeat, saying that racism was out of the question because of former President Barack Obama, who won 2 terms. And he said sexism was a moot point because 2016 Democrat nominee Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million ballots. Of course, our great system of the Electoral College kept her out of the Oval Office, thank goodness. He said Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here and they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare, he said. The real-time host said Harris spent her entire campaign saying, F your feelings to average Americans concerned about kitchen table issues. He criticized Democrats for condescendingly running campaigns as the so-called, quote, smart people. And he went on to talk about the Democrat Party as a royal family, urged them to stop looking down Americans with different opinions and the other half of the country and to have productive conversations instead and try to figure out what went wrong and right the ship. You think they will? I'm not sure they're capable of that. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse are proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. There's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, AI, and it seems to be taking over every part of our life. I mean, everywhere you turn. We have sort of become accustomed to like Siri, those of you who have an iPhone, which I do, and you just ask Siri a question. Same thing with Alexa. If you have some of the Amazon products, it's real common. Alexa, what's the weather like? But boy, has it gotten sophisticated and scary in how it can respond. We're gonna jump into a disturbing incident that involved Google's Gemini chatbot in just a moment. First, let's get to some of your text messages. Jennifer said, hey, Joey, this Matt Gaetz thing, is this a coup of some kind? I mean, Trump says he's nominating him to be Attorney General, and immediately Gaetz up and quits the House. Ironically, the day before the Ethics Committee turns in their report on the drug, sex, and rock and roll charges against him. Jennifer says, sounds like a Democrat scheme, doesn't it? Senate Republicans have joined Democrats all day long saying they won't confirm him. Then will he be out of a job altogether? Where is the win here? Well, Jennifer, I'm not sure, and I know that some people have questioned Matt Gaetz, and I know some have questioned whether or not he will be confirmed, and there's some Democrat senators who say he absolutely will not be. But there's also some who have the attitude that, hey, look, Donald Trump won a mandate, and we're going to give him the team that he wants, and then it's his. He has to own it. He can't blame us for not confirming some of his picks. He can't later come back and say, well, I wasn't successful because you didn't give me who I want. It'll be a dogfight, for sure. But Matt Gaetz may very well be our Attorney General. And I'll tell you one thing that you won't have to worry about with Matt Gaetz is he will be a bulldog. He will go after, not necessarily witch hunts, but he will go after, he will enforce the rule of law, I honestly believe. Maybe he wasn't the best choice from the standpoint of just really rubbing salt in the wound of the Democrats, but I think he has the ability to be an effective Attorney General. We'll see. Texter says, Joey, thought you might want to know how bad TDS is with my stepdaughter. I'm assuming you're talking about Trump derangement syndrome. He says, I've been told I'm no longer welcome to her house because of my support for Trump. Good day indeed. She's an entitled brat anyway. Have you had family members who have asked you not to come to their house? Or maybe you just haven't had some of those normal dinners that you would have had, family dinners, because of your support of Trump? I've had a lot of people talk with me about it. Some people just say they don't talk about it anymore. Now, if the Democrats had won some of these folks with TDS, they would have been talking about the fact that their candidate, Kamala Harris, had defeated Donald Trump. But we're not supposed to talk about it in victory, are we? That's all right. They'll come around. Look, Texter, I can promise you, your entitled brat stepdaughter, as you call her, once gasoline prices come down and stabilize, once it's not as expensive to go buy groceries, she's going to come around. She's going to be thankful that you voted for Donald Trump and that he was reelected. Dennis writes, hey, Joey, do you think Biden and Trump will work out a deal? Joe pardon Trump and in return Trump pardon Hunter? Dennis from Anderson. Dennis, I don't think there's any way. First off, I don't know that Trump needs a deal because I think all of the charges are going to go away. I don't think he's going to, I think they're just going to throw in the towel. But I don't think there's any scenario that Donald Trump would agree to pardon Hunter Biden. Under no circumstances, I don't think. We'll see. All right, so a disturbing incident involving Google's Gemini chatbot underscores some of the concerns that we have about the safety and reliability of generative AI systems. It's taking over the world. I mean, I get emails all day long. I get text messages all day long of people wanting me to use their AI product. A Michigan college student, Viday Reddy, who received the shocking and explicitly threatening message, has brought attention to the potential harm that AI responses can cause especially when they veer into unexpected, aggressive, or dangerous territory. In the exchange, Reddy sought advice on issues related to aging adults, a seemingly benign topic. However, the Google Gemini chatbot's response was far from routine. Here's what it said. This is for you, human. You and only you. You are not special. You are not important. And you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die, please. That was the response that this Google Gemini gave to Reddy when he asked the question. Now, the message not only alarmed Reddy, but also his sister, who witnessed the exchange. They both expressed deep fear and concern, with his sister describing a strong sense of panic. The reaction highlights the psychological impact that these responses can have on users. I mean, you have to understand that these chatbots, like what Google Gemini is, they're trying to make it as realistic as possible of you talking to another person. Mental health experts have sounded the alarm because some people become attached to their AI counterparts. People who are lonely, living alone, they carry on a conversation with them as if they're another human being. Now, Google claims that Gemini's safety filters are designed to prevent chatbots from producing offensive or harmful content. Yet, incidents like this suggest that those safeguards aren't always adhered to. The response from Google, referring to the incident as a nonsensical reply, seemed to downplay the severity of the message. Google stated, "Large language models can sometimes respond with nonsensical responses, and this is an example of that. This response violated our policies, and we've taken action to prevent similar outputs from occurring." However, this brother and sister believe that this is more than just a technical glitch. Viday noted that if someone in a vulnerable mental state had received such a message, it could have tragic consequences. The incident raises questions about liability and potential harm caused by AI. This is not an isolated incident. There have been several reports of AI chatbots giving misleading, incorrect, or in some cases, harmful advice. So here's what you need to understand. You can't totally trust what they say. Yes, they're accurate a lot of the time, but not all of the time. Earlier this year, journalists discovered that Google's AI was providing potentially lethal health advice, including suggesting the consumption of small rocks for vitamins and minerals. Google has since updated its algorithm to limit satirical content and health responses, but this example shows how easy AI can generate dangerous misinformation. There's a lawsuit. The mother of a 14-year-old Florida teenager who died by suicide filed a lawsuit against a character AI in Google. The lawsuit alleges that the chatbot encouraged the teen to take his own life, highlighting the severe risk that unmonitored and unchecked AI interactions can cause. And again, that's just another example of how you have to understand that the artificial in AI really means that. It's artificial. It's not real, folks. Wow. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.